If you're facing challenges like fatigue, tiredness, when you wake up in the morning, brittle nails, then depression, mood swings, cold feet, anxiety, hair loss, irregular periods, PMS, constipation, IBS, infertility, fibromyalgia, joint pain, you might be suffering from thyroid disease. Now, if you are someone with a thyroid, and no matter what you do, for example, diet, walking, yoga, medicine, supplements, but still if your weight is not coming down, this video is for you. Because here's the thing, you are not failing at weight loss. You are failing because your metabolism is blocked. And today I'm going to show you the 7 biggest mistakes that most of the thyroid patients make. And these are the mistakes that actually keep your weight stuck even when your reports look perfectly normal. See, thyroid is a major health problem in India right now. It's affecting more than 42 million Indians. And with hypothyroidism affecting 1 out of every 10 male and female. 8 to 15% women in the pregnancy time they face this thyroid disorder. And 1/3 of thyroid patients in India are still not aware of their thyroid condition. The major issue is that most of the low thyroid conditions are not just low thyroid, rather it's an autoimmune problem. And this is the most prevalent autoimmune disease which is known as Hashimoto. Essentially, this is your immune system which attacks your thyroid as if it's a foreign body. Now, if your thyroid is untreated, it increases your risk of heart disease, heart attacks, infertility, cognitive decline, and even early death. In FUME, we have worked with thousands of women and male also because thyroid is both male, happens with male and females, but majorly with the females as compared to males. So we have worked with IT professionals, teachers, homemakers, entrepreneurs, and I've noticed a pattern in all these people. All of them have a report which is perfectly normal. They're taking medicines in time, still the energy is very low. Hair fall is happening and their belly fat is not going. And today I'll be explaining you why this happens and how exactly we look at the thyroid issue inside FUME from a root cause lens. So let's understand how thyroid works. So if you look at the thyroid is essentially a very small butterfly shaped neck gland in the neck, just below the Adam's apple and above the collarbone, right? So this is part of the endocrine system. And this thyroid, it produces a hormone which is known as T4. Now T4 is not a very active hormone. It is an inactive hormone. It's not very useful on its own. The active hormone is T3. And this is what controls your metabolism, your fat burning, your energy, your mood, your body temperature, and everything. Now, your body has to convert the T4 into T3. Now, here's the most important part. Most of the T4 to T3 conversion, around 80%, happens in the liver and the gallbladder, and only 20% happen in the kidneys and the gut. So now, if your liver is overloaded, if your bile flow is very poor, if your gut is inflamed, if your digestion is poor, in that case, it can lead you to lesser T4 to T3 conversion or maybe lesser thyroid hormone. Now, when the thyroid gland it produces less thyroid hormone, it is known as hypothyroidism. That means underactive thyroid. And if it makes more thyroid, that means it is hyperthyroidism. That means overactive thyroid. Now, in India, in general, in world, hypothyroidism is more common than the hyperthyroidism. Now, we need to understand that why medicines don't fix this problem. See, if you take thyroid medicine, it helps you to produce more T4. But your weight loss depends on many factors. For example, conversion of T4 to T3 and how your cells they respond to the T3, your insulin sensitivity, your liver detox capacity, your gut inflammate, inflammation, and then your stress hormones, your sleep patterns. So even if you take medicines, your T4 to T3 conversion may not happen. Though you are getting enough T4, it's not converting to T3. In that case, you can feel tired, you can get your weight will get stuck, and you have continuous hair fall, brittle nails, and then cold feet, constipation, PMS. So these are problems can still continue. Now you need to understand what are the major mistakes most of the people are now making in terms of fixing their thyroid issues. The first major mistake what major people make is that eating less or maybe skipping their meals. People think that I have a thyroid problem, my metabolism is slow. I should be eating less. But what happens when you eat less? Your body gets into a survival mode. And when you get in a survival mode, that means your metabolism will slow down, your weight will get stuck, and then you have huge cravings. And you have hair falls, tiredness, irritations, and everything. The thyroid is like your, metabolic engine. It's like a governor. If the engine is already slow and you are reducing the fuel already, it will slow down even more. So the whole idea is you do not need to stop eating or starving. That's not a good solution. You need to start more balanced meals. That means your diet should have more protein. For example, chicken, paneer, all this stuff, right? Um, and more fiber in your diet. That means more veggies, green vegetables, and then healthy fat. These kind of things need to be added to your diet so that you have more balanced meal. Let's talk about the second mistake. Second mistake is that most people only test for TSH, right? Because they feel that's what I need to do. And many times the TSH looks normal. But thyroid weight loss is just not about TSH. It is also free T3, free T4, and sometimes also anti-TPO, which actually takes for look at the antibodies, like Hashimoto's, Graves' disease, and everything. So your reports might be okay, but again the symptoms are continue because you have not checked for the right parameters. So do not only treat TSS as the only parameter for testing your thyroid, the test for the whole thyroid panel. You need to treat everything as equally. Third mistake what people do is they depend only on thyroid medicines. Now you discussed thyroid medicines can only give you T4. But whole idea is your whole T4 to T3 conversion has to happen, and your weight loss depends on many other factors. It depends on your conversion from T4 to T3, then how it absorbs in your body, insulin control, muscle mass, stress levels, and there can be other hidden blockers as well. For example, estrogen dominance. If you have high estrogen, that means you have PMS, irregular periods, heavy bleeding, this kind of stuff that blocks the thyroid receptors. That means it will slow down the liver detox. And specifically after pregnancy, many of the ladies they get this weight gain, thyroid issues, hypothyroid, and post-pregnancy problems, heavy periods, PCOS, infertility. So these can be the reasons, blockers. And then insulin resistance. If you have insulin resistance, that means it reduces the T3 activity and it increases more fat storage in the body. That's why many people take medicines like, fixing their thyroid and all this stuff, but years and years they have been taking, but the weight is not moving. The weight is increasing, in fact. That's why eating less or being on a starvation is not a solution if you're on a thyroid patient. So you need to improve your metabolism. You need to improve on overall health, not just only on your diet. The fourth mistake, ignoring your liver and gallbladder function. This is very important because, as you discussed, if you don't have a healthy liver, your thyroid cannot function properly because 80% of your T4 to T3 conversions happens via liver and gallbladder. Now think of it, your liver is fatty, non-alcoholic fatty liver, you have inflamed fat liver or overloaded, and you do not have the strong bile flow, you're pretty weak. In that case, your T4 to T3 conversion can slow down. In that case, what happens is your thyroid will be inactive and your metabolism is slow. So you need to focus on liver function, you need to focus on bile flow to make sure the conversion works well. And thyroid hormones are also are nutrient dependent. So if you do not take the right nutrition, your medicine cannot work optimally for you. Now, what are the key nutrients for thyroid? For example, iodine is required to, because this is something helps you to make the thyroid hormone. Now, without iodine, the T4 and T3 production is compromised. But the thing is, there's a catch. India has a high iodine deficiency, and there's also iodine misuse in this country. That means if you take too little iodine, that means low hormone of thyroid. If you take too much of iodine, then it's autoimmune problem like Hashimoto's. So it's not just adding more salt to your diet, rather assessing how much you need that is required. Next, we need selenium, which is essential for the T4 to T3 conversion. If you take less selenium, that means bad conversion and high inflammation. So you need to make sure that you take enough selenium in your diet. You also add zinc because zinc improves the thyroid receptor sensitivity. And then iron because iron also improves the metabolism and also helps you for the oxygen delivery. Vitamin B12 supports for the energy and nerves, and vitamin D also regulates immunity and autoimmunity. Now, one of the things is important is low vitamin D is linked with autoimmune thyroid, like Hashimoto's and insulin resistance, chronic inflammation. So you need to take all these supplements, but again, do not blindly start any kind of supplements. Take it in discussion with a doctor or a health coach, which can be required because when you take blind supplementation, overuses or misuse can worsen your autoimmune thyroid, and that can be more dangerous. Mistake number five, ignoring your gut and your constipation. So here, this is very important. Your gut is where all these hormones are there. Your gut is where the nutrients are absorbed, inflammation begins. Your immunity is controlled in your gut itself. Now there are many, some of the conversion of T4 to T3 also happens in the gut. Now if you have IBS, constipation, bloating, acidity, food intolerance, your thyroid will always be struggling. So you need to fix your gut. That means you need to increase more good bacteria, take more prebiotics, probiotics, fiber, hydration, drink enough water, sleep for 7 to 9 hours per day, so that your gut should be good. You should not be having health issues, in your gut happening. And once that happens, you can obviously focus on your weight loss and other goals. Now, mistake number six is very important. This is a stress. Now, stress is one of the most bigger challenges of this generation where we have a lot of stress in our life because of work pressures, family pressure. Now, your stress hormone is cortisol, which is released from the adrenal glands. And this actually impacts your thyroid heavily because when you have high stress, that leads to high cortisol, and this blocks the thyroid signals and increase the belly fat, weight gain, and your sleep goes bad, and then it increases the insulin resistance. That means T4 to T3 conversion slows down. And by default, most of the women, they carry a lot of invisible stress in their work, their home, overthinking, kids, family, and everything. So what are things to do you need to do to fix this problem? You need to do breathing, like walk in the evenings, spend time with the family because that is why you get a lot of happy hormones, oxytocin, and all these hormones get secreted, so that actually helps you to bring down the stress. Sleep early and make friends, right? Seven mistakes. No strength training. Now it's very important because with thyroid, you have low metabolism, right? And most of thyroid patients, they lose the muscle very easily, and muscle is your metabolism. It is a fat burning engine. You can do walking and everything, but walking alone cannot build your metabolism. Walking alone cannot build your muscle. So you need to do strength training. That means if you don't have strength training, if you don't do that, it is going to slow down your calorie burn. It's going to slow down your metabolism every single year. You are going to lose your muscle mass, and gradually after a few years, you see your weight will come back. So you need to at least allocate 3 to 5 days a week where you can spend 15 to 20 minutes of strength training. Do some simple exercises like squat, wall push-ups, resistance band. This kind of stuff can actually help you to build more strength. Now, if you look at the thyroid problems, they're not the real problem because thyroid is never the primary problem. Thyroid is always a secondary problem. Now, when something is wrong in your gut, your liver, your hormones, your insulin, your stress, your sleep, that is where thyroid reacts. So treating only thyroid is not going to fix your problem. Now, when you fix all the root causes, what happens? Automatically, your symptoms get fixed. That means the weight will start going down. And that's why most people go wrong because people do only the TSH. They do a testing of that. They don't, sometimes they do test only T3 or T4. That also total T3 and total T4. Now, you don't need to do all that. Inside FUME, what you do, you don't look at only one number. We use something which is known as FUME root cause metabolic panel. In this, we do a complete diagnosis about your body. It is all about understanding you and your body. So in this panel, what we do, we look at your thyroid markers, for example, TSH, free T3, free T4, and you can also add antibodies in anti-TPO to understand about the Hashimoto's and all this stuff that can be added to the panel. Then you do metabolic and insulin health. That means you do fasting insulin, HbA1c, triglyceride, and HDL, LDL ratios. And then you check your liver and gallbladder load. That means SGOT, SGPT, and then fatty liver, then cholesterol patterns, everything will check. Also, we look at your deficiencies in your nutrition. That means we look at your iron, your vitamin B12, then vitamin D, ferritin, and everything. Lipid and cardiac risk as well. We'll take out LDL quality, inflammation markers. So this panel is very detailed, and this gives us the first level clarity why your thyroid is struggling. Now, once we understand your reports, we don't jump into the random solutions. What we do is we focus on building the systems, not the symptoms. So one of the most important parameter we look at your genetics. Most of the ladies who have thyroid problem, they have inherited this from their mothers. It has been at least 80% of the case. If your mother is has thyroid, hypothyroid, you will have the hypothyroid. Even if you're taking care of health, you are taking care of a diet, exercise, and everything. But there's a genetic predisposition to that. So that means how your body responds to carb, how your body responds to fat, stress, detox, and everything. It has to be figured out through the genetic testing. We do that. At the same time, I just said gut is also very important because your gut also has a role to play in terms of T4 to T3 conversion. So we look at reducing your inflammation, improving your absorption, at the same time, you're improving your immunity. And then your hormones and metabolism. This is something very important to balance it out because insulin, your cortisol, insulin, estrogen, right? And all these hormones need to be balanced because if you have any of these dependencies on these hormones, thyroid is going to spike. Now, thyroid response, there's no quick fix. What is important is fix the root cause of the problem. Now, once you start fixing the root cause, that means you're building a solid system, automatically you can see the thyroid will get fixed. Now, if you're someone who is struggling with thyroid and weight problems, understand it is not just weight, it is a hormone which is in problem. That means there's a hormonal imbalance. So you need to understand, do not focus only on weight loss. Focusing on balancing your hormones, focusing on fixing the root cause. And for that, you do not have to think thyroid is your enemy because thyroid is is asking for support from you. It's looking for help. So once you stop fighting with your body and once you start understanding your body, you'll understand that your root cause has to be fixed and everything's gonna change. Okay, so please look at this video and take action and follow this channel for more updates. See you in the next video. Thank you.